Alan Hahn here. I'm taking over. Bill Pito takes a break, and I bring in my good friend, Don LaGreca. Now, you know him as the Rangers radio voice on the broadcasts and also on 98.7 ESPN as a co-host of the Michael Kay Show, which his name is not on.
No.
But you're a big part of that show, and they named the studio after you at least.
That's a stunt that Michael does. He doesn't want to give me the real steak, the real stuff that I want. He gives me the name, which is not sponsored. It doesn't change the paycheck, so
No.
I don't know why anybody complains about it.
As you can tell, this is not at all an issue. But when he is on the broadcast, he is sharing time with Dave Maloney as they're calling Ranger games on 98.7 ESPN and the MSG Rangers Radio Network. And Dave Maloney joins us right now on the MSG 150 speed dial presented by Fios by Verizon. Captain, I don't want to get in between the both of you because I know you struggle to get in a word in edgewise while Donnie is making the call. So I'll let Don ask you a question first.
How are you, Donnie?
I'm doing fantastic. Hopefully your summer's going well.
Yeah, it's going well. I mean, it's been exciting, right? I mean, a Ranger team that fought to the bitter end to compete. I think we chatted the last time I was on with Alan and Bill about, when you do the right thing, you do the right things, right? You compete, you don't bail, and you end up with a second overall pick in a two-horse race draft that's coming up. And I think it's certainly created an awful lot of excitement around the Rangers.
Now, you've been very adamant during the course of the year about how there's patience. And do you amp it up at all? Do you go into a different gear when you see what St. Louis is doing? Worst team in the National Hockey League on January 3rd, and now they're a win away from winning the Stanley Cup. Do you think that changes the pace at all for the New York Rangers, believing that maybe it could be quicker than maybe they actually thought a year ago?
No, I personally wouldn't, and I don't get that sense in speaking with Jeff Gorton and JD. I think by and large they'd like to stay the course. The key, of course, is if Mr. Dolan at the end of the day, if he decides he wants to amp up that aspect of the rebuild, then there's a good chance it'll get amped up. But I really do think what you're trying to accomplish is to be competitive over a longer period of time than that one-hit wonder, perhaps. And is there a player out there that can guarantee success for this Ranger team, a la what St. Louis has been able to do? I'm not convinced there is. So I think patience at this part is the better part of virtue and valor and all those good words. But it's an exciting story. There's a lot of good things going on. And as exciting as it is, I really do believe the better story is yet to come.
Well, before we get into the Rangers and the draft and everything else, the two most exciting words in sports, Game 7, and that's in the Stanley Cup Final. As we know, it doesn't get any greater than that. This has been a series, I think, David, that's been unpredictable, right? If that's the only prediction you can make is that it's unpredictable because the Blues feel like they have momentum, then they get blown out. The Bruins feel like they have momentum, then the Blues come back. What are you seeing for Game 7?
Well, there's a couple of things. I know it's often said there's nothing greater than playing in a Game 7, but Donnie and I have talked about this before. Let me tell you something. Winning in 4 is better. Let me tell you. If you want to get to winning it in 4, you don't have to go to 7, win it in 4. But as far as this series goes, it reminds me a little bit, the Rangers in 2014 had an up-close and personal taste of running to the finals. And by the time it gets to the end, it's a war of attrition. And it's a break here, it's a break there. St. Louis comes out hard the other night. They take a penalty, and then O'Reilly throws the puck in the stands, right? And it's a brilliant 5-on-3 goal, and it's a 1-0 game. And it is a battle after that. Then a bounce beats Middleton, and it goes to Boston for Game 7. So I personally thought I was concerned about St. Louis being able to handle Boston's speed. I was honestly rooting for St. Louis, but thought Boston would probably win. So you're right, and I know it's probably well-founded, but the point is that you've got the two teams that are playing the best, and there's just not that big a difference. It could be the matter of a save. It could be the matter of a goal that maybe shouldn't have gone in, or was it a penalty that was or wasn't called? I think we've seen all of the above in this series, and it's stretched to Game 7.
I got to ask both of you. I'll let you also comment on this because you haven't had a chance to, and Dave as well, is the hiring of John Davidson as the team president and what it means for not just the future, obviously, but also for what the plans are immediately. What does his presence bring to the franchise? Dave, I'll let you go first.
Well, I think what he brings to the franchise, first and foremost, he was a New York Ranger and established a playing career as a very valuable member of our team when we went to the finals in 1979. and he was a tremendous broadcaster, and he changed the analyst's role in broadcasting. The way he went about his work, the way he prepared. It used to be you just show up, you look at the roster, and you go to work. And John changed the role. It's no longer that way, and he's changed it for the better. I think all of us who have been privy to that role, I think we do a better job as a result of what John set into place. And he's been a very, very successful management type. You know, he's built a St. Louis franchise, been part and parcel of that, a Columbus franchise that may get a little exposed this season with the free agency issues, but there's a lot of good things in part there. So I think for me, Donnie, he hits on an awful lot of real good things. And at the end of the day, there is no more competitive person than John Davidson.
Yeah,
and that, at the bottom line, is a real good thing.
And Dave, I got the sense he's no passenger. He's in charge of this thing. When we had him on the Michael Kay show, he said that Jim Dolan said, hey, this is yours. He's on board with the direction the franchise is going, but he said everybody's going to be evaluated from the coach to the general manager to the players. I asked him about free agency. He said it has to be the right fit. So I didn't get a sense he's going to dive in head first, but he does want to be aggressive. So he definitely did change the culture in St. Louis. I think he's the reason why they're in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. You saw firsthand what he did in Columbus. So this isn't somebody who's just kind of just joining the group and not going to stir it. He wants to steer this ship, and he's done enough to be able to be allowed to do that.
And you know what, too? He's doing it, I believe, the right way. And the conversation I've had with him, it's just he's got to get his feet wet. And get to know the people and things like that. Then you make a decision. The only way that you can do that, really, is how he expresses himself by jumping in with both feet. So it's really, to me, he's been every bit the hockey executive and broadcaster that I was privy to as a player. He's a guy that kind of hits on every element of a group, of a team, be it owner, be it coach, be it player, be it trainer, be it media. And it really does. I don't know that he commands the respect, but he has that respectful nature about him, and he's a hockey guy. At the end of the day, he's a hockey guy. He's just as comfortable sitting down, talking with management or players, or sitting down with a beer and talking about last night's game. And that's amongst the many things that I really very much enjoy about John Davidson.
And if he evaluates the media, Dave's got the inside track because they have a personal relationship. I'm the one that's going to have to try to make an impression. Dave's already in. And Sam, you know, is already in. So those guys have nothing to worry about.
Don's got to work on his...
I'll protect you, Don. You don't worry, buddy.
Don's got to work on his old baby. That's for sure. Dave, thanks so much for a few minutes. It's great to see you, and I'm sure you two will get back at it again on a broadcast somewhere soon.
Yeah, and I hopefully I can make your softball game this year, Donnie, and we'll talk moving forward. But we'll stay in touch, and good luck with the kids, bud.
August 3rd. So
there you go.
I'll be in touch.
All right. I hate softball, but I'll give it a whirl.
Thanks so much, Dave. Good
all
to
right,
see
guys.
you.
Peace.
All right. All right, so Don, moving on to what the Rangers have coming up is obviously in 10 days is the NHL draft. And it's a big day for them. But I find it interesting because we keep debating the Jack Hughes, Kaapo Kakko, who should be number one. Are the Rangers in the more favorable position because you can't go wrong with it's whoever is left at 2, correct?
Yeah, it's the same situation that Philadelphia was in 2017, right? The Devils were going to take Hischier, and they were left with Patrick. Not that that was wrong, and we'll see. Patrick might even be better than Hischier, but they don't have to worry about it. The Devils have the pressure because if they pick the wrong guy, then that can really set them up, the Rangers and the rest of the division, for the next decade or so. I always believe in building up the middle, so I'm always favored the center more so than the winger. But when you look at a winger that can score, we saw it at the Worlds, that's exactly kind of what the Rangers need as a finisher, right? They've got some nice goal scorers in Kreider and Zibanejad, but nobody that's putting up 40, possibly 50 goals. The potential of this kid is really going to get Ranger fans excited.
I mean, it's been a while since they drafted a player that became an all-star at the forward position.
Right, exactly.
And here's a guy that everybody got excited about. The more you watched him playing in the Worlds, playing overseas, a lot of these big tournaments he's played in, he's looked great.
He's been fantastic.
Yeah, well, Don LaGreca, you can see him on the Michael Kay Show on ESPN 98.7, and if you listen carefully, you'll hear him because he does take up a lot of the airspace.
70%.
That's what they say. Thanks so much, buddy. Good to see you.
For more great videos from the MSG 150, check out right there. And remember, our show is on Monday through Thursday, 8 to 10:30 p.m. on MSG Network and MSG Go.